Elliot's Loft is open. When that opens up, we tend to bring an episode of When Black Men Talk. I'm Mark Elliott. Soon to be joined by two other gentlemen, Mr. Demetrius, Mr. Charles. And we've been doing this for quite a bit. And we have the option to have conversations. We should do our conversations in the morning. We kind of bounce around. When we first started, we was doing it on Sunday nights. Then we moved to Sunday mornings. We moved to Sunday afternoons. Moved around back to Sunday mornings. Now we have Sunday nights again. And I must say, this the nighttime gives a different feeling. It just is something about the night to just kind of basically make things all right. With that being said, I'm gonna check with these gentlemen and see how they're feeling. It's been a few days since we had a chance to conversate, had a chance to talk, and we should always be checking to make sure that we're good. And myself personally, I don't like when people say to me, "I'm okay," because when you say you're okay, I kind of believe there's something's going on, and I want to find out. But at the same time, I may not want to find out. But Mr. Charles, how you feeling, boss?
Fabulous, brother.
I thought you were going to say okay.
Nah, you probably gonna say that, Mr. Reese. How you feeling, man? How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Went to the doctor yesterday, so some good reports. So one more pill down and two to go. Get rid of.
Good,
So
man.
I'm good.
Good. We're happy to hear that, man. Good news, bro. I'm happy you sharing it too, man. Good news. We're happy to hear that, man. Real
Yeah.
happy to hear. One pill down, yeah. Less medication we can put in our bodies and our livers, and our pancreas and all the other stuff, kidneys and all of that. Beautiful, man. I'm all for that. Gentlemen, I sent you guys a videotape of something that to me just kind of tickled me throughout this past week, man. The mayor of New York is in a battle of legal woes. I don't want to go way too deep into what's going on with him, but he was brought up on charges for basically taking money from Turkey and kind of doing favors for Turkey allegedly. So those charges were, for the most part, up in the air. When the new president came in, he sent the Department of Justice to basically get rid of them after, I guess, having a conversation with the mayor of New York where they're going to do things with ISIS and illegal immigrants. Well, a few days ago, this cat was at Gracie Mansion in New York, and they was hosting a Black History function. And I guess a reporter asked about his support dwindling with some of his black constituents, for the most part, that want him to resign. And he basically stated that, it's like Jesus, basically where they're, in so many words, trying to pull him down. But he said that those Negroes need to go to God and ask for forgiveness. Now, I'm going to tell you, man, I haven't heard that word Negro in a while, Mr. Jones. I haven't heard it. But we've been called so many things, man. That's why I haven't heard it because at one time we were colored, one time we were black, one time we were, African, then we're African American. Then we come in a different variety of different names, but Negroes. And to hear the man basically say that at a Black History function about the people that are against him, for the most part, asking him to resign at a Black History function, does that sound a little peculiar to you?
I would say yes. I think part of it too, for him to say something like that, considering what the type of event they were at during the time, it was also used perhaps for some type of shock value, right? And I think that's such a term as you mentioned that has not been used frequently. It seems like an old term. If you can't say one word, then you substitute for something else, right? Stay within the boundaries, and I think that's what it was. He's more of a shock value type guy, and maybe because he's been raised and frustrated by everything that's coming at him. Well, considering what he's going through right now.
Yeah. Mr. DeMaurice, you think about it, that word, and like Mr. Charles said, had a function for Black history. And that word is not as, doesn't bring the upheaval that the other N word basically does, but that word still has some significance to it. And to choose that to reference to folks that are basically saying he should basically resign, it kind of, I don't know, it gives a little uneasiness. Your thoughts, Pauls?
He probably wanted to say handkerchief head in front of the Negro, but that would have really kind of turned over the apple cart. But I think it was inappropriate. I think he's probably frustrated with some of the black folks that he doesn't think that is their kind, his kind. So um, I even heard, I was reading the story, I read another story that went along with it. The former governor, Andrew Cuomo, is running for the mayor.
Yes,
So
sir.
he may get it. Based on what this mayor is doing, Andrew Cuomo may get it. He may come back and get it. Why not? Why not? You got a clown that's running this country who is a convicted felon. Why not run back into politics? Politics is a sham anyway. So he's probably tired of the whole rat race. I know he's in a lot of trouble. He shouldn't have taken that money if he took it. And now he's just trying to, you know, buy his time until Andrew Cuomo probably takes over, in my opinion, because he's not going to
Yeah.
get reelected. He's not going to get reelected. He's had too many kind of failed kind of attempts to try to be mayor, and he's had too many gaffes. So I don't expect him to be in office.
No, he's not. They're saying the ratings now. There's two other people that I guess have their hat in the ring that are ahead of him. And it's interesting if Como steps in, but what's going to take place because we all know he stepped down due to some other things that are going on. And you wonder, I wonder, are New Yorkers going to be forgiveness, or show forgiveness towards Como? But I remember, man, there's a couple of mayors in this country did some things and went to jail. It came back and was voted back in. So it's a
Oh yeah,
good
Mary
possibility.
Berry.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of him, but I couldn't think of his name. But you're right. Marion Barry comes to mind. We had a governor in Connecticut. We had a governor in Connecticut. I think it was Governor Gannon. This cat was caught up in stuff. Did like 3 years. Basically, went to jail for 3.5 years. Came out, put his hat in the ballot. He's been back in Bridgeport, been in Connecticut. I mean, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and been the mayor for a while. So people are forgiving him. You know, when it comes down to that, and it's interesting. That choice of word, though, to me, I found it to be somewhat comical. I really do. And I've always kind of feel this way when it comes to us. There's a certain hate that we have for each other to where we won't use tact, we won't use anything when it comes to describe or relate to each other. We just kind of let it go wherever it go. And then I stand and I always say this, I don't see any other nationality or the race doing the same thing. Not saying they have to or whatever, but I don't see them calling each other out or saying something. In other words, if he was, if this mayor of New York was a different race, if he was Italian, if he was Jewish, if he were Irish, I don't think he would took a name. They would have took a name and identify a group of people that were upset with them that had that type of ring to it. But most of us, when we get a chance to basically denigrate or say something that's not complimentary to us when it comes to black people, and I'm speaking of black people, we have no problem, none. We can't. It's like it's at the tip of our tongue, waiting to come out, and that never surprised me, man. Because in daily talk, we're just used to just saying stuff that's destructive to each other. So my point is, like you said, Mr. Reese, he probably wanted to say something else. So him, that was mild. He wasn't expecting a storm to come from it. But I know one of the questions the reporter asked the next day, he was on Fox 5, if I'm not mistaken. And the guy asked him basically, do you believe black people should vote for you based on you being black? And sometimes, that is the case. Sometimes, I'll ask this to you, Ms. DeMaurice. It seems like sometimes we can go out here and do some silly things, but we expect our people to have our back. Is that too far fetched, or that doesn't sound like it makes sense?
It's not far fetched. It's not far fetched at all. And sometimes we rely on that, and we shouldn't. And it's kind of sad that um, you have folks who think that way. Like, hey, me and you look alike, so you gotta, fall in line and do whatever I'm doing, co-sign it. We can talk about why it's not right later. But in public, we got to stand on one accord. And that's how a lot of folks operate, especially here in Chicago. They operate like that in politics. And folks are really kind of stepping back and kind of looking at it with a a very clear lens and going, no, just because you're my color, it doesn't necessarily mean you're my kind.
I like that. I like that. Doesn't necessarily mean you're my kind. Mr. Charles, realistically, man, it seems like a lot of times we're expected, or they believe we're expected to have their back no matter what goes down. And I'm talking about even from crimes, whatever the case may be, they're expecting us to basically rally and support even when they know they're wrong. Your reaction to it, Boss?
Yeah, I think that might, to me, that's like an old school nature type thing, right? I remember growing up, like, when it came to politics, if somebody's grandson or whatever was a Democrat or whatever, you had to follow them because it was generational. That's how we were thought to be loyal. And maybe some of it was pertinent because the other side was so messed up, right? We felt like that's something we should do to keep us together. But in this modern day times, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that it's necessary to do that, and I do think that they do believe. What's up, brother? My brother. Okay, well, brother, why you messing up? Then I can follow you. I can even at least connect with you, right? I don't have to believe everything that you're doing. I have to believe in everything you're doing is correct. But I can rock with you a little bit if I think you being real. But we take it for granted, like that. That's what my brother's gonna do. But then you don't think about thinking about giving back or doing something to really recognize the people that supporting you, right? You just want yours. You just want to get in and do what you do, get the power or whatever you're doing, and then the hell with the people that supported you. Only when you need them.
Yeah. I'm going to change this just a little bit. What's kind of currently going on, what I find to be interesting. Because I said last week on the show that I think DUI, not the, whatever it's called, the diversity thing that's going on is woken up a lot of people, our people, but not only our people, because there are basic days for call blackouts for not purchasing from different places. I'm not even going to name their names, but folks pay attention because there's certain days we're not shopping at certain places. And the reason why I'm not going to call them, I don't want to give them any pub. I just don't. But it's interesting. I like the fact, but this is what I really find interesting, Mr. Charles, because this time around, we're not leading the charge when it comes down to basically boycotting and basically not purchasing. And I thought about this and I said to myself, this goes back to Alabama, Montgomery. You think about it, avoiding the bus. I basically brought that to a standstill. It's amazing now where, excuse me, so many years later, we find people all over America. I love the idea, don't get me wrong. We find people all over America piggybacking on what was done several years ago. And I want to get your reaction to it because I think it's a beautiful thing. Because I remember I said when COVID came to me, I thought COVID was a possibility. It was a good chance to give us to correct some things, some ill things that we were doing as people, as a nation, a lot of different things. And I think some parts of us we did correct, but I think there's some other things that still need to be corrected. And I believe this is on the path itself. But I want to get your reaction to it when you look at them choosing to basically boycott, blackout, and basically show the power of the dollar. Your thoughts behind it?
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea. Like you said, though, I mean, it's unfortunate there's not in this society right now. In a lot of areas, there's not a lot of originality. You know what I'm saying? So when not originality, they're copying from other things. It makes you wonder why can't you just delve into it further? I think the other part for me is the factor that there was talk about it. They were presented out all different places, but there's no really viable instruction. One would think if you took that time to come up with the idea, I'm sure they didn't do it last minute, that they would have had a little bit more instruction. Because I think there was some confusion from people. I think some people wanted you just do it for a day. Then you had other people talking about, well, we need to do it for 3 or 4 days. I'm like, well, hell, who's on first? Who's in charge? I think more people got confused. They might have done it for one day and moved on. There should have been a little bit more direction, a lot more direction for people to follow.
Well, I'll say this, man. They they plan on, I think it's March 7th to the 14th. they're basically planning on not purchasing anything from Amazon. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'll throw it out there. Amazon is not going to be bought. Don't purchase anything from them from March 17th to the 14th. If I'm not mistaken, I think in April there's a week where you don't shop at Walmart. Between there might be Nestle, and I think there's General Mills. I like the approach, Mr. DeMaurice. I love it, man. I like the fact that for the first time, man, people are starting to kind of understand their dollars have power. Your sentiments.
Yeah, I like it too. I just hope that it could be consistent and that we can get more people involved. When I'm talking to Pop and he's talking about not spending money on February 28th, I'm like, okay. The
There
message is
it is.
loud there and sent. And folks in North Carolina got the assignment, and you're looking at folks all around the country and even around the globe that got the assignment. Said, you know what, we're with you, we're backing you, and we're supporting you. But when you look at one of these companies and they reported that since they made decisions that they made, that they've lost about $15 billion, billion with a B. That says something. And what really kind of cracks me up is that these same companies will start sticking black folks in their commercials on TV trying to get you back. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it makes me wonder about people who sell out and do those commercials. There's a famous basketball player doing a commercial for a restaurant. I'm not going to mention. And I'm like, what are you doing? You so hard up for money that you don't really realize what we're really doing and how we're trying to, move as a people. But they'll get black actresses and black athletes and all that, and that's why when Malcolm X said, don't follow these celebrities because they're not in our best interest. That's exactly what he means.
That's a good point. Very good point, man. I mean, there's a lot with that to be said because you have to really pay attention who influenced you. You just do. I mean, realistically, I mean, you can look at somebody. We can like a celebrity just because they wash their underwear with that detergent. I mean, I'm gonna wash my underwear with that detergent. It is what it is. We have to really pay attention to who's doing the influencing. And to me, it's an insult to your intelligence when they can basically put somebody that they believe that you like, that you're fond of, use to manipulate you to forget what you really should be thinking and to sway you and influence you. And you got to be cognizant of it because it's done not even really slick, and it's just not even done boldly. It's just done kind of subtly to where, in a sense, to where you feel good. And those persons are basically they don't care. They're picking up the dollar, and that, I'm not even mad at them. I mean, I think they consciously should be aware and not do such. But I'm not mad at them. I know in my life I have when I was put in situations where I felt like I was being used as a pawn for something to kind of basically alert black folk. I told them no. I just said no. That's not for me. You can find someone else or just advertising, on your own. That's just my personal choice. But for people that may take the dollars, we're all not going to think alike. So I'm not even going to be mad at you. I see you for who you are, and I'll kind of adjust myself to you accordingly. Gentlemen, I want to throw something else. A song that was recorded years ago by a man we talked about a few weeks ago, Felipe Wynn, and Love Doesn't Love No One or Nobody. Speaking of songs, man, I want us to basically take two songs each. If you want to do three, that's fine, but I'll say we at least do a minimum of two. Grab two songs that basically, when you first heard them, to even to now, if you hear them, they have such a monumental impact on you. And we'll talk about the impact and the song in general. So, like a little homework for the next time we get together. But we're just sticking with Love Doesn't Love Nobody. It's funny because a lot of times we hear, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And when you think about love itself is not capable of loving anyone. It's the concept of a feeling that actually to give love on its own, but to imply it solely relies on the idea love is defined for a loving relationship. So we pursue it, we chase it, and we want it. But you know, It's just at sometimes love, when you say it, love can just basically be words. And to me, Mr. Charles, love should bring forth the feeling, man. Love should basically be a sense of where it takes on action that you feel. Now, I could be thinking this on my own, but to me, love should basically take on action to basically, if you don't have to tell me you love me, I should feel you love me. Your reaction to it, true or false?
No, I think that's true. But I think the song speaks on it. It takes a fool to learn that love don't love nobody. So yeah, think about it from the standpoint of people can say whatever, but sometimes the feeling or something that you feel or something how you somebody makes you feel by actions can resonate more with love than somebody telling you every day. It's kind of like if somebody was helping you out doing something, they never told you they loved you, but through their actions, they showed you how they cared for you, attended to you, or to your wants, and needs. That's more love to me than anything you could ever say.
You dead on there, man. Because I think about this. I knew my mother and my father loved me. I knew. I think I was 34 when my father passed. But for, let's say, 31 of those years, I go back to when I was like 2 or 3, I knew my father loved me. And I don't think my father ever said the words to me. So my mother, passed later on in life, been passed for, let's say, 18 years, probably in her 70s when she passed, Mr. DeMaurice, never said the words.
Hmm.
Never said the words. Think about it. Never said the words, but did I know I felt love? Was I given love? Was I shown love? Absolutely. To me, they grew up in a time where love just wasn't spoken for some people. It's uncomfortable. I know I shared a couple of times my Aunt Ruby, she's 91 now. It might be going on 92. My Aunt Ruby, I'm sorry if I keep coughing, folks, but my Aunt Ruby basically, I remember years ago, I would say to Aunt Ruby, I love you. And you would have thought I threw her a hot piece of coal. She didn't know what to do with it. You would have just thought she just, so I had kept just saying it to her repetitively when we would talk or if I saw her. And when she turned 90, I remember her daughter basically did this big Zoom where a bunch of people were on it and we all had a chance to speak to her. So the daughter called out people by name. I was the third person that she called out. And so when she called me out, my Aunt Ruby said to me, Mark, you don't even have to tell me you love me. Don't even say the words. I already know it. She said, I love you. All the years that she wouldn't even say it, it just, basically avoided. I knew it was there. Knew it was there. Knew it. I mean, that lady loves me deeply. So that's where when I come with this, I'm saying is that to hear it, great. Don't get me wrong. And just think about how many people has been misled on that four-letter word. Just been misled. They didn't feel it, they heard it. So their spirit was crying out to be watered with love, and the words were enough. The rest they just color in. So when I asked the question to you, Mr. Maurice, it's like love is an action. It takes action. And it's basically that's something you should feel. Your response to it, sir, true or false?
It's true because I was thinking about my uncle who passed last year, Uncle Fred, and I remember we were at a family reunion, and most of the women in my family on my father's side, they verbalize it. They show you they show you they care. They give you this hug that it's like they're putting love in you. And on my mother's side, not so much. I know my mom and dad always expressed it verbally and physically, but my uncle Fred, I remember at a family reunion, just we were assigned to go up to our elders and speak great words of him and tell him how much we appreciate him and all that. And this is the way he showed his love. I remember going up to him and his wife, and especially to him, and saying, man, I love you. You came to me in a time in my life where I didn't know where direction I was going in, and you pretty much saved my life, and I love you. And he kind of looked back at me and looked at me kind of with a frown on his face, like, "Are you drunk?" And I just started laughing. I just started laughing. But that's his way of saying, "I got it. You know how I feel." And he wasn't brought up like that. So, but I remember us having a conversation before he died on the phone. He was in the hospital, and he shared some kind words, and we went back and forth. But there are certain ways that people show love, and sometimes as men, it's not comfortable for us to say it verbally. Now, me and my dad will say it verbally every time we speak to each other, and it's no problem for us. And that took a while. That took a while. That took when I became an adult that we made a pact to do that. But there are some men in different generations, in the older generations who just not comfortable with that, and if they're not comfortable with it, they can't teach it. So we have to learn it from somewhere else. And I've learned it just being in my own life. The words and the actions have to go together if you're going to say that. And so I don't have a problem saying it. And the people that I'm around, even my closest friends, even you two, I love you two, and I'll say it to my closest friends, and they'll say it back, not saying it because they feel awkward not saying it back. They feel it, and they want to say it. And I, for one, wanted to break that kind of stigma as men, that we could love each other and not mean something totally perverse about saying I love you. I love you because I care about you. You're my brother, and I care about your well being. Speaking to my brother today over in Germany. It's like, hey man, I love you, and I want you to take care of yourself, because he has some health issues now, and so um, I think we need to break that stigma. But there are different ways that people show love, and I know the older generation, especially men, they show it by, hey, I'm doing all this for you. What else do you want from me? I'm showing you in my actions. You need to hear it too. And sometimes, it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. But I know with this generation, I don't have a problem with it. I still meet dudes who still have a problem with it. But when I say it, you can see when I say it to dudes and my friends and stuff like that, you can just see them kind of break down. You can just kind of see them break down because they never heard it from another male before. And it's like, damn, this feels good. This feels right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's good stuff
Can I
there,
can I
boss.
can I say something real
Come
quick?
on, absolutely, man. Take your time. Take your time, man. Take your time.
Hey, Demo Reese, you ain't gotta be doing all that shit, man. What you know?
Hey, I was going to say to you, man, but I think you might have answered, man, because you said when you love, us too. I was going to say to you, what about us you love, man? If you rolling, man, tell us what about us too you love?
I love the fact that we can sit there and be honest with each other. And if I'm doing something wrong, you guys point it out. You don't let me go in there and fall through a pitfall because you guys love and care about me that much. And I do the same. Like, hey, man, listen, I'm wondering about this. What are we going to do about this? Or what you going to do about this? So when you have folks in your life who, like, hey, man, I know this is what you're going after, but here's what I want you to look at. That's care, man. That's love. You ain't had to. If you didn't love me, you wouldn't say a word. You're like, well, okay, it goes suck for him, and let me go on and hit my head. But the mere fact that you guys will look after me, you'll check on me, you'll say, hey, I'm wondering about your health. Hey, this is what you need to do. I go back to the time where I text that I had this condition, and and before I think I hit send. You called me on the phone. If that ain't love, I don't know what is. I don't know what
Yeah.
is. So you ain't say, hello, I love you. You say, hey man, how we gonna fix this? How we gonna do this? When I talked to Charles, I remember having COVID, and Charles called me up and said, listen, man, hurry up and get past this now, because we got shit to do. That's love. He's like, I have no doubt you're gonna get through this, but hurry up and get through this because we got shit to do, man.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh
was
man.
telling you, because you know how he could be sometimes. You don't know what he doing over there. He like, I like, look, you need some help. I know to help you get through this shit, but you need to get that shit together. Like, well, I'm gonna try this. You sound like my brother. My brother, same way. He trying this newfangled shit he heard on the TV or something. I was like, man, if you don't get your ass over there and get you some damn vitamin C and some zinc, I tell you what, you better ask some damn body. And people were dying and doctors don't know either back then. I said, man, you better come on, jump on the train. Now he swear by it. Man, I got my supply. I'm restocked. I said, yeah, okay. So yeah, do you say, wait, hell, what you doing? We got shit to do. Get your shit together. What you need?
Yeah, man. Excuse me. As I was saying, love has to be. It's shown, baby. It's basically shown, and realistically, man, I can think of a time. I swear, I remember years ago, when we weren't. I said to I pulled back from doing the show, and we were still doing the sports show. I pulled back, and Dean Marie said to me, how you feeling?" I said, "Man, I don't know, man. I'm just like, some things I was wanting to do, I didn't see kind of come to fruition, blah blah blah." And I said, I don't know, man. So we was on the show one day. I don't know. No, I'm not sure it was a show. I think Mr. Charles and I was talking. He said, "Man, when you gonna bring the show back? We gonna-" I was like, damn, that was a kick in the ass that I needed. That was, I don't know how you can't translate it, but that was the kick. And we've been kicking ass ever since, man. We've been kicking ass ever since. For that time, we was off for a couple of months. And I'm gonna say, I remember one time too, man. Charles may not even realize this, know about this. I remember one time that we was doing the sports show, and I think I might have missed a couple of sports shows. And Charles had asked you, "Was I coming?" You said, "No, I'm not gonna make it." I said, "Damn." He said, "You said, well, I'm gonna be there." He said, "Well, yeah, you want to argue it like he does." I was like, man, that ain't what I was like, damn.
Yeah, people want what they want, bro. I love Demo Reese. But Demo Reese is a sweetheart. I love it. Demo Reese don't go so far. He like that little brother. He only gonna do so much. But man, how can we fix this? Yes, it's a whole different thing. You gonna come with it and you're gonna die on that damn sword. You be wrong with two damn left shoes. You still carry love. And you like, nah, but yeah, nah. It's the same. People want what they want. We gotta give the people what they want. And that's why we do. And on the other part, I've been trying to quit this damn show since day one. I don't know why you ain't telling the truth. But you still keep pulling me back. I feel like the Godfather. Like, damn. Hey, I keep walk away and they keep pulling me back in. If it ain't you and somebody else that heard the damn show, talking about, man, y'all really doing this. And when I heard you say this, I'm like, I want to say, shut up. Leave me alone. Like Little Rich used to say, shut up.
Shut up.
I was in the mustard trying to catch up.
uh, I'm gonna tell you something, man. And I go back to what your uncle was with you, Mr. DeMaurice. Don't matter how tough sometimes we try to be, we show the action. It may not come out in the words. We show the action that we love and care. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, man, that's what's important, man. That's what's really important because, to hear it, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather feel it. I'd rather feel it. It's nice to hear, but I'd rather feel it because it's more genuine when you feel it. It does something to your soul, your spirit when you feel it, man. It's just kind of basically, it grabs you and you feel it. And I know, like I said about the parents, man, come on, man. They basically loved me the best way they knew how, and that was some strong love. But my mother, man, times I would say to her, again, she didn't know, and it's because for the most part, she was raised not having that said to her. Didn't understand for the most part how to basically pass to say that. So that had to be seen for exactly for what it is. I don't never looked at that as a bad way. It's just that, if they weren't kind of given that and they'd have picked it up on their own, a lot of things we basically took from our parents and we kind of basically moved on and added our touch to, which was good. Some of our parents and some of that generation, for the most part, they just kind of repeated some of the things they were given and then step beyond that. So yeah, you see it for what it is, and you kind of basically go on. And no, so that never bothered me. But I did feel it. But I just kind of realized that a lot of time love is not spoken, and a lot of times when love is spoken, it's spoken in a manipulative force. And it's sad that we have gotten to the point, and we've been there. I shouldn't say we've gotten to the point in society where we will use the beauty of love to basically manipulate, to get over, to influence, do different things. And that's really sad because to me, as I look back at life sometimes now, there's not much sacred anymore. What is really sacred? I mean, religion for the most part has some corruptness. And I'm not saying the world itself is supposed to be 100% perfect, but I'll throw that out a question to you, Mr. Charles. When you think about it, what's sacred? Because love to me should be a sacred thing. It should be something that basically that's shared among people that is realistic. But as a world and as society, we've taken a lot of sacredness and corrupted. Your response to it?
Now, I agree with that 100%. So I'm not sure if there are too many things, if there are anything really left that are really sacred. I think when it comes to sacred, when I think about sacred things now, I really base it on the interactions and the people that I interact with and connect with, right? And in that area. So you know that I'm genuine or I'm real about it. If I know something's sacred to you, sacred to me, because I care about what you care about and what you feel. So I'm like, okay, that's sacred to him or sacred to her. Therefore, I need to be cognizant of that. But as far as the world and things since sacred, it's too many falsifications and false prophets and false people coming around talking about being sacred. The only way I say you know something is sacred or you know or you say that's sacred to you, it has to be genuine. You got to show me. Otherwise, I won't believe you. It's real talk. And that's the way the world has changed. I guess, maybe you call it harden my heart or change my perspective on certain things like that.
No, realistically, man, your heart has to harden just for self-preservation. Believe it or not, man. If your heart hasn't, you be left on an island by yourself, man. I mean, it kind of forces you, which is kind of when you really deeply think about it, it's sad. But for self-preservation, the heart must harden. When you think about sacred, Mr. DeMaurice, anything that's left, man.
I'm not sure if anything is left. In this day and time of society, it's almost like it's wide open, bro. It's like it's wide open. Anything goes. There are no rules anymore. The lack of morals, the lack of a moral compass, is gone at this particular time. I mean, for some people, not all people. So yeah, it's kind of really kind of bothersome, and it's also kind of it's kind of scary because we're in a state of just being suspended in this space where when is everything going to kind of settle down and get to where it should be. And every time we think we're getting close to or we're heading towards it, it takes a left turn somewhere, and then we're back at square one. So as far as things being sacred when we comes to love and things of that sort, it's not. I mean, last week we talked about Steve Smith and the sanctity of marriage and what that means to folks, and why would you violate somebody else's marriage just to get pleasure? So there's nothing sacred. Not too many things are sacred anymore, um, and it's a sad state of affairs. Even children. Um, folks are messing around with children, and they have a lot of lawsuits around here on I think the Catholic Church and pedophilia and messing with little boys and girls when they're going to church. So, what's sacred anymore?
Yeah, that it's sad, man. When you think about it, when you really pull back and think about it, it's sad. It's like the pure goodness of things has been modified, been basically polluted and corrupt for the most part. And no one thinks in terms. That's just in everyone, but in general, people don't think in terms of something being sacred anymore. It's just take it for what, get out of what you can, be selfish, grab what you can, and keep it moving. And yeah, it's the world we live in, modern day 2025. Mr. Charles, if you got a question, man, we're gonna open up and do some questions. Well,
Yeah, my question is, I had this on top of my head. Um, do you think there's more of a percentage of people? I know COVID had a lot to do with this for some people. Do you think there are more people, a larger percentage of people that are connected or with what we consider traditional religion now, today? I mean, as far as going to church, uh, following whatever a certain denomination, connecting with certain kind of people, and being a regular attendant of that. I know that's a lot, but I'm just asking. You think they're still following the regular way of we think about religion?
No, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think for a lot of things that's happened when I speak of being sacred, have turned a lot of people off, and I think people have found different ways to basically self-religious do things and approach it. You still have a good percentage, but there's been so much disappointment to where it's hard to kind of basically maintain that. And some people have found the tradition based on people before them. They're trying to live up and trying to satisfy the people before them. But I think when people really stop and think for themselves and want to know for themselves, it's hard to follow the tradition. It's hard to. And yeah, that's my take to it. Your response to it, Mr. Maurice.
You know, I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to practice a religion of my oppressors. And recently, I was watching. Every year, I try to watch the 1977 version of Roots, and you always pick up something different from that show. As far as where I was watching a slave owner who was supposed to be religious, had his time in his study reading his Bible while they caught a runaway slave. The slave is being beaten and on the outside. Now he can hear it, but he's reading his Bible. And what the Bible says, is to have mercy and God's mercy and all that other stuff. While Fiddler was coming in there trying to, talk him out of beating this slave or trying to kill this slave, he's sitting there reading his Bible. And I'm like, man, what a joke. What a joke. What are you reading the Bible for? If you're not going to practice anything in that Bible and you're going to interpret it and how it is going to be an advantage to you and justify things based on just, switching the words up or switching the meanings up. And so I tend not to, and I see a lot of other people doing the same thing. I always tell people I'm more spiritual than religious because religion is man made. And so there are things you can learn from different religions and different writings and things of that sort. But to call myself a Christian, I cannot do that. And Christ didn't even call us Christians. That was something that was man made. And so I think that's why, in my personal opinion, why black folks are so messed up now, because we are taking on a religion that originally we came up with that religion because white people didn't come up with any religion. But it's been bastardized so much that it's been used against us. And we're so confused that we're practicing traditions and rituals that don't help us.
That's deep. That's deep, Mr. D. Maurice. That is real deep. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Charles, man, good question. Your response.
Yeah, I think that the percentage, the way that people practice traditional religion, as far as going to church and different things, is decreased dramatically. It doesn't mean that people don't believe in a higher being, but I do agree with some of the stuff that was said earlier about they're finding different ways to connect, right, with a higher being or whatever. But I find it interesting, and I thought about this before because I've heard Jimmy Rich say this before about when he said he watched Roots about how people read the Bible and Christianity is supposed to be a certain kind of way. It has been manipulated by so many other people. And I really had to think about that. And I said, how did I find out about a higher power and a being? And I thought about that about myself. And I was like, well, what about you? Do you agree with that? And what I found come to grips with is this. determination was that knowing that even way back then, thing when people were manipulating, taking parts of the Bible, whatever they chose, whatever book they chose, to benefit what they were putting down, right? They wouldn't use the whole book; they only used what they needed to. Therefore, they would allow that, use that information to justify for what they wanted to do. And I think it's even more today in modern day times with pastors where there could be something going on, but they only select what works for them and what they're serving to the congregation. But the other part too that I understand for myself is I thought about it and being that Christian or being understanding over the years. But what I found out, and I had to be honest when I hear things like that said, that I know where I'm at now, and I know what I'm connected to a higher power. And sometimes, for me anyway, it just depends. It doesn't really matter how I got introduced, right? It might have been the religion or whatever that introduced me, but once I got to the higher power and I had that connection, the other part didn't really matter to me because I know where I'm at now. I know where I'm at in my spirit. So I'm not so sure if I'm really in that traditional sense of being a Christian anymore, but I know where I'm at when it comes to the higher power, the Lord God, Jehovah, Yahweh, what have you, however you want to call that creator. I know I'm not there. And to me, at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
There it is. I'm just going to take a few seconds, gentlemen, to kind of basically say this, man, because that is, what we just been sharing, you don't find in everyday conversation, man. You just don't. And that's what we spoke of love earlier, and I may not say it often, but that's what I love about us getting together. Because realistically, man, you think about we all kind of came up differently. We did different things in our life, and we have different paths, but it just kind of show, man, when you can get men together realistically, and they could put all the exterior stuff to a side and just basically open up and be real and have conversations, the stuff that you will hear is mind boggling. It's mind boggling. And it's nothing, it's no surprise. It's no surprise. I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it again, man. When the idea was to do this show, it was spoken to me by God, get men to talk. And it's like, just get men to open up and get them to talk and get them to be naked. And if you just hear nakedness right now, you weren't paying attention. You weren't paying attention. And, it's just that simple. It really is. And more than me, he knew what could take place if we just would talk. He knew. And I'm glad we've been doing it. It's When Black Men Talk. Mr. DeMaurice, Mr. Charles Mark Elliott. Your question, Mr. DeMaurice.
Yeah. If you had the opportunity to do this, who um, who who in your family passed away that if you had an opportunity to tell them that you loved them, you would tell them that you loved them?
Hmm. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Um. Hmm. No one comes to mind because there's no one that passed that I could think of that didn't know. Yeah, they didn't know clearly. Excuse me, I hadn't expressed it to. Um, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've always kind of made that fact known, made it clear, showed and expressed it. So, I'm trying to think, man. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I don't know if it'd be necessarily saying love, but my sister's first husband, his name was Glenn, and Glenn and I, when my sister Cynthia was first married to him and I bumped heads a few times, but when we settled into our relationship, man, as brothers and just as being men, man, he was phenomenal, man. I remember he took me when I was a young man. I was 15 years old. He took me to New York. He said, Mark, I want to take you to New York and show you around New York. He said, if you can learn New York, how to get yourself around New York, he said you can learn to go anywhere and travel and get around. He didn't lie. He didn't lie. And it helped me not to be afraid no matter where I went. And basically, I've been to New York, I can't even take amount of times, man, and other places as well. He set the foundation. And I think about some of the conversations we had, and basically, man, how he basically, I saw how he was a father to my niece. Yeah, man. So I don't think I know he felt that I loved him, but when he passed, I don't think I really expressed it as fully as I probably should have. So if I could, I would love to basically say to him, Glenn Senior, man, hey man, I love you more than you probably recognize, man.
Mm.
Than you probably, I'm pretty sure I think you know, but the words probably didn't come out of my mouth to say that to you because, yeah, man. I mean, as you know, you weren't my brother, so to speak, but you were a brother like to me. And like I said, our conversations, the way I seen you live your life, the things you've done, you were fearless when it came down to your career. Who knows? Hell, that might even rubbed off on me. So yeah, man, I just yeah, it was just that would be him. That would be the person. Your response, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, I guess the question, D. Maurice, is, do you get the chance to see the person, or you
Oh
just
yeah.
here?
Oh yeah. Oh,
No doubt, man. My mama, bruh.
mm.
My mother, bruh. No doubt about it, brother. 'Cause, yeah, so many times over the years, I've always wondered and thought about it, and just to be able to see her reaction at this point in my life. Yeah, oh, no doubt about it, man. Woo! I'm gonna shut off now before I start crying. So anyway, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Go on and cry, man. Stop playing. Go on and cry. Come on now. That's what we do as men.
Well,
Come on, Charles.
you know I ain't crying now since your ass just said it.
uh,
Good question, D. Maurice. Your response, boss.
I think about a number of people that I would have said it, but this is a woman I lived with, and we showed it all the time. But and when we were talking about earlier, I cannot remember us exchanging this word, and it has to be our grandmother, Rosalie Woods. You knew she loved you. You knew she cared about you, but we never had to exchange those words. You could just look in her eyes and see it. But I would have said that to her, not to get a response, but to let her know how I felt verbally. I know she felt it, through hugs and me doing whatever I could to make sure her life was comfortable, and she made my life comfortable and did things for me, took me in when she didn't have to. But yeah, that's a person. And of course, our uncles, especially Curtis. Uncle Kurt was, I would have to say, and he's not supposed to pick favorite uncles on my mom's side, but he was my favorite uncle. He was my favorite uncle. We lived together. And I also lived together with Andrew. But I loved all my uncles, but I wish I would have really had a sit down with Uncle Curtis and shared that.
We don't get a chance to pick our family members, man. Uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, whatever. We don't. But I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Maurice, and I'm not saying nothing new to you, man, that we were blessed, man, that Grandma Rosalie,
Yeah.
man. Oh, we were. I could probably really speak for you when I say this. She really established us as being men.
Mm.
She really did, man. She gave us so much food for thought and so much food for a foundation that if I was to think that she wasn't my grandma, I'm not sure what I would be, bro. And don't get me wrong, my mother and father did a hell of a job, but I think if she wasn't who she was in my life, and I probably can speak for yours as well, man, I think there would be a void in our life, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There'd be a void because I think a lot of things she said, she spoke on, be damned if they ain't come true. When you were faced with it, when you were faced with those situations, you had a hand up. You just did. It's like she knew you was gonna face. I said this to someone the other day, man. My grandmother said, and I know you must have heard this. She was like, "Mr. Mark, don't jump from one hot frying pan to the next." I'm like, now, when your
Yeah,
grandmother says that to you at a young age, you're like, Grandma, what are you talking about? You've been
yeah,
drinking. You think that, yeah, like, Grandma. And then she would go on to explain to an extent, but you say to yourself, Grandma, what are you talking about? And as you live, you realize there's situations that you're coming out of. Don't put yourself back in it. That's the frying pan that you've been in. You've been getting cooked. The Crisco was heating you, brother. It was heating you up. You don't want to jump in another frying pan where the Crisco's hot. Take your time, understand, cool down, relax, understand, think clearly. Who would have, thought that? Who would have took that to think that meant that? Who would think about it? But realistically, man, God had her there for those reasons. I'm a firm believer in that. She was there for those reasons, man. I thought about her today, and I know you're dealing with diabetes, or you have diabetes too. And our grandmother, man, have lost both legs to diabetes, man.
yeah.
Both. And was strong as ever. Didn't even care. They didn't care. You lost, they cut both. Like, so what? So what? Didn't care. I was like, that would have probably took me under. Just a mere fact, you tell you're gonna cut my legs off, might have took me under. Didn't care.
No,
And didn't want medication. Did not
no,
want medication. No, didn't want it. It's like, no, I don't want that. Don't give me that. And it's like, damn. So yeah, when I can go on her for so many episodes, bro. But we were blessed, and I hope everyone had a chance to have someone in their life that basically poured into them, give them. And I think a lot of times with our people in general, that's what we're missing, man. We don't, the generations that behind us, they didn't have what we grew up with. They didn't have those pouring into them, giving them the nurturing, the words of encouragement, basically shaking them when they needed to be shaken, shunken, saying some things that they can carry throughout life. That's that stuff, man. Priceless, priceless, absolutely priceless. Gentlemen, we'll put a lid on this one, and we'll get together again in 6, 7 days. Don't forget the 2 songs. If you want to do 3, that's fine too. But the next episode, we will go into some songs that basically been prominent in your life. For the most part, when you heard them, they brought you somewhere. They gave you an idea. They gave you a feeling. They gave you a thought. And to me, when music can do something like that, that's a good creation. It's When Black Men Talk. Myself, Mark Elliott, Mr. Demarest, Mr. Charles. You know, and you don't know, let me tell you, God loves you. Don't think for a second, whatever you're going through, may not seem like it's possible to come through it. He still loves you. He's always has a path for you to do better and pull yourself through it. And we love you too. Take care of yourself.